Hey everybody, and welcome to another A plus 1102 lesson with a bunch of practice questions at the end of the video, where I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about all of these dot points within exam objective 2.5, and then I'll give you those practice questions at the end to make sure that you are where you need to be and you know what kind of questions you might be getting on your actual exam, so you're ready to walk in there with the confidence that you need. So this exam objective is, given a scenario, manage and configure basic security settings in Microsoft Windows OS. So we'll kick it off and we'll start with Defender Antivirus. Let's get straight to it. So look, Defender Antivirus, we know what it is. It is the built-in native antivirus software on your Windows device. The first thing you need to know about is activating/deactivating Defender Antivirus. And first things first, generally, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't deactivate it, but we need to know that you can, and that it's a possibility. So it's generally not recommended. Disabling it, of course, leaves your system vulnerable. It's best to keep it active for continuous protection, but there are specific scenarios. For example, if you're installing another antivirus program where you may need to temporarily turn it off. If you do want to turn it off, you can go to virus and threat protection, it's called, in your system. Click on that, and from here, once that loads, you will be able to go to manage providers up here. So you can see there's a lot of information here. Once you're in here where it says virus and threat protection settings, you click on manage settings. That will open this up, and where it says real-time protection, you can turn that off. I'm not going to. And you can basically turn all of this off so that that is now no longer activated. And of course, if you want to re-enable it, you would just follow those same steps. Now, the next thing you need to know is that it's important to update your Defender Antivirus definitions. You want to make sure that it has the updated definitions of the most recent threats, so that it knows what it's looking for, so that it can actually protect you. So it's important to make sure that those are updated, and you do that through the same thing. So virus and threat protection, and then you go here, and where it says the updates, it says security intelligence is up to date, but you'd be able to manually configure those updates through there and check that you actually do have those updates up to date. The next thing you need to know about is your firewall. Again, you can activate or deactivate the firewall. You shouldn't do that. Don't deactivate your firewall. Generally, it should be active, and it should stay on to keep yourself protected. If you want to turn it off, you can do that, but again, it should only be done in specific situations, like if you're trying to troubleshoot network connectivity issues with certain applications, because disabling it does leave your system exposed to potential risks. So I'm going to press my Windows button, and I'm going to go into Firewall and Network Protection. That will open up this section within my systems. So from here, I can configure the settings based on which type of network I'm on. So I can say, all right, if I'm on a public network, I'm going to turn that off. I'm not going to. If I'm on a private network, I'm going to turn that off, right? So you can turn that off based on each individual network you're on. Again, don't do that. There's no need to do that unless you're in that specific situation that I just outlined before. So just know you can turn it on and off, and you should probably keep it on. Now, we've covered ports in the 1101 exam. I'm assuming you've done that already. We understand the concept that specific protocols do run over specific ports. For example, port 80 is where your HTTP runs over. That's where you're doing insecure web browsing. Email, SMTP, is going over port 25. You've got file transport over port 21. We should be somewhat familiar with that concept by now if you've done your 1101 exam. Now, the firewall within your system, you can set specific rules to allow specific traffic to flow or be denied over specific ports. And the way you do that is you bring up that same section, Firewall and Network Protection, and then we're going to click on Advanced Settings. If we're going to want to do ports, it's going to give us this warning. Click on Yes. I'm okay with changing that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a new inbound rule, or I'll go outbound rule. Maybe, let's say, for example, I don't want people to be able to browse the internet using port 80 on this device. I don't want to be able to do that. So I'll click on New Rule, right, and then you can set that up. So it's going to be a specific port. It's going to be on port 80. I'm going to block the connection on port 80. Right, and you can go through that process. Have a play with it yourself. Have a play around, but that's how you get there, and that's roughly how you do that on your own device. So you can also do this with applications. So the firewall can also monitor and control which applications are allowed to access network resources. So you'd go into the same section, and it will give you a list of applications. Let's do that. So in this section, firewall and network protection, you go to allow an app through firewall. That will open up this list, and you can see that on private network, these specific applications are allowed, and on a public network, they are not. So just you tick the box depending on if you do want to or do not want to allow it through. And then if the specific apps that you want isn't there, you could click on now allow another app, and you could then browse your system to find the specific application that you're looking for and allow that through. So that's how that would work. That's how you do that. So as long as you understand the concept that you can allow apps through and roughly how to do it, you should be fine. Users and groups now. Moving on to the next little topic, there are a wide variety of different types of users, and we're going to get into that in a second. But first, just understanding the difference between a local account and a Microsoft account. So a local account is an account that has been created on your device for your login on that device only. There is no method of syncing into that account from a different device and using it on another device. So if I wanted to log into my phone, I wouldn't be able to access a local account that I set up on my computer because it is only local. However, a Microsoft account connects to your Microsoft online identity, meaning that you can gain access to that account from various different devices, and it would sync across them. So I can log into my Microsoft account on my laptop, and I can also log into my Microsoft account on my phone, and I'd have access to the same data, to the same information, because it is synced across those things. That's pretty much what you need to know in relation to those two. Now, the next one is the different types of accounts and their permissions. So you have a standard account, which has limited user privileges. So it generally restricts actions like installing software or modifying system settings, which helps to prevent accidental or malicious changes. You then have the administrator, which is the most powerful account with full control over the system. You would not want to give that to everyone. You would want to use administrator accounts with caution, because if you have malware running under an administrative account, it can cause significant damage. Of course, they have privileges that are escalated. They have access to everything. They can change anything they want. And then you have a guest user, which is a basic account with very, very limited access. It's intended for temporary guest users, and by default it is disabled in newer Windows versions due to security concerns. And finally, you have a power user, which is not a specific account type, but is a general term for user accounts with elevated privileges above a standard account, but less than a full administrator access. So it's somewhere in between those, right? So power user accounts might be used for specific tasks requiring some administrative permissions, but not necessarily all of them. All right, so understand the concepts of those terms and what that means if someone says, I just have a standard account versus I have an administrator account, and you should be okay. The next one is your login OS options. This one's really easy, guys. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Basically, you can choose to log in through a variety of methods. You can use a username and password. You can use a PIN number. You can use a fingerprint, facial recognition, or single sign-on. So we know what all of these are, right? We know that fingerprint and facial recognition are forms of biometrics. We should be familiar with that concept by now. And we know what these two are. The only thing I'll just spend some time on is single sign-on. So single sign-on is when you sign on once, and that one sign-on allows you to access multiple applications. So you only have to log in once, and from there you can access multiple applications because you've logged in. You've authenticated once, and that's enough. So generally that's through a cloud-based service, and it improves convenience but relies on the security of the single sign-on provider. So that's what single sign-on is. I guess that's pretty much what you need to know. Now we have NTFS versus share permissions. So NTFS, remember, that's the file type on Windows devices. On your Windows machine, you generally have NTFS file type. Now, share permissions are the permissions of a network share folder. So if you've mapped a network drive, share permissions are referring to the permissions that you can grant people for your network drives and network folders. So we'll start with NTFS, and we're just going to compare the different types of permissions that you can give people and how it's different if you're using NTFS versus how it's different if you're using share permissions. So with NTFS, the local Windows file type, basically it offers very granular control over user access. So you have 4 different types of control you can give people. You can give them read access, which is where you can only view the file content. You can give them modify access, which is where they can change file content. You can give them write access, which is where they can create new files and folders. And you can give them full control, which is where they can do all actions. Whereas with share permissions, on shared folders and files over the network, it's only basic. So you can give people full control, which is all actions. You can give people modified control, which is change file content and create new files or folders, or you can give them read, which is where they can view file content only. So you can see there's less complexity here. You have less granular control when compared to NTFS. So NTFS gives you finer control when compared to shared permissions. NTFS applies to both local and network access, while share permissions only affect network access. And compatibility, share permissions work with FAT and FAT32 systems, while NTFS, I skipped that bit. But look, that's the key thing you need to know, right? NTFS just gives you more granular control, basically. For the sake of your exam, understand that, you'll be fine. Inheritance with NTFS permissions, if you give particular permissions to a folder, the files or folders within that folder will inherit those permissions. So that simplifies permission management, but can lead to unintended access if you don't carefully control it. So if you change the permissions for a folder, but you don't specify the permissions that you want for each of the folders or files within that folder, all of those folders and files will get given the permissions that you gave that initial folder. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, and then we just have run as administrator versus run as standard user. So if you run as an administrator, you will have full control over the system. We should be understanding that concept by now, and that's pretty much it, right? So if you need to do something with elevated privileges, you'll need to be running as an administrator. You shouldn't do this as a daily thing. You should only do that if you really, really need to do something, purely because, again, you have those access privileges. You don't want to accidentally do something and mess up your system, or have malware installed and get access to an administrator level account. Use it sparingly. And then a standard user account is designed for everyday use and it has limited privileges for your protection, right? You don't want to be, again, changing the system. You want to have that layer of security between you making a decision that could mess up your system, and you want to have that block there so that you're not necessarily going to be doing that. And it's just safer to use because they minimize the potential damage from accidental or malicious actions. Again, if you get malware on a standard user account, still not good, but it's better than an admin account. And then user account control, it's basically just a warning that will come up to confirm that you actually want to take the action that you're taking. So it's a security feature that prompts users for confirmation before actions requiring administrator privileges are executed. So you can change your settings. You can set it to always notify, which will ask you for confirmation every time an action requires admin privileges. Or when applications try to make changes to my computer only, which is when it will ask you for confirmation when an application tries to make a significant change. You'll have to say yes or no. Or only notify when apps from unknown publishers try to make changes to my computer, right? So you can choose between those options. But just know user account control is when your device will ask for confirmation before making a significant decision that generally could significantly change your system. And then we have BitLocker. So BitLocker is a full disk encryption feature. We covered this in the first exam objective, right? So we really know what this is already, but we'll go through it again. So it offers full disk encryption, and it is built into Windows. It protects your data by encrypting the entire drive. This encryption renders your data inaccessible without the correct decryption key, significantly enhancing data security. So BitLocker basically, it encrypts your drive. It encrypts your data. So that's what you need to know. You should know how to enable/disable it, and you can do that just by practicing. Like, have a go at it. But we know what it is. Really, the main thing for your exam is you need to know what it is, and it's just disk encryption, essentially. And then we've got BitLocker to go, which is essentially where you can enable BitLocker to encrypt removable drives such as USB flash drives, SD cards, and external hard drive. So it's not on your device only, you can also do it for USB devices and such. And finally, we have encrypting file system. This is the next topic. So encrypting file system is a built-in Windows feature that allows you to encrypt individual files and folders on NTFS file systems. Note that it is for NTFS file systems on Windows file systems. This encryption renders the data unreadable without the decryption key, significantly enhancing data security. So how does it work? It uses a combination of symmetric and asymmetric key cryptography. Basically, you need to know that encrypting file system uses a combination of symmetric and asymmetric key cryptography. You don't need to get super into the details really about what these are yet. You'll really get into those for your Security Plus, but just know really encrypting file system is a built-in Windows feature tool that allows you to encrypt individual files and folders on NTFS systems. For the most part, that's what you need to know. Just what it is, be able to recognize what it means, and when you might want to use it, what are the benefits of it. Of course, if you're encrypting a individual file or folder, no one else will be able to read that, right? So it's on the file or folder level. That's the main thing you need to understand for that one. All right, let's go through some questions for this exam objective. Question 1. You're working on a critical project on your Windows laptop when a notification pops up stating that your antivirus software has expired. You recall reading about Microsoft Defender Antivirus, the built-in security solution for Windows, but you're unsure about its capabilities. Which of the following actions is the most appropriate if you do not wish to use a paid antivirus solution? A. Completely disable Microsoft Antivirus and install the new antivirus software immediately. B. Leave Microsoft Defender Antivirus running and ignore the notification about your expired software. C. Temporarily disable Microsoft Defender Antivirus to install the new software and then re-enable it afterwards. Or D. Completely uninstall Microsoft Defender Antivirus and rely solely on the new antivirus software. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Now, it is B. Leave Microsoft Defender Antivirus running and ignore the notification. So basically, it was the question specifically stated that you do not wish to use a paid antivirus solution, which means you're going to want to stick with the default built-in one of Microsoft Antivirus there. So that was just a matter of reading the question and understanding what the wants and the needs are of the person in that scenario. Next question reads, you're a traveling salesperson using your Windows laptop at a client's office when a notification appears from Microsoft Defender Antivirus about a virus definition update. Unfortunately, you're on a weak Wi-Fi connection and do not want to update now as you are worried about exceeding your data usage limits. What should you do in this situation? A. Click Update. Security is of utmost importance and comes before your desire to avoid going over your data limit. B. Ignore the notification entirely, assuming the outdated definitions will still offer some protection. C. Defer the update but set a reminder to check for updates again later when you have better internet access. Or D. Open the settings and deactivate notifications. Reactivate notifications when you get home to remind yourself of the needed update. Your answer in 3, 2, 1. Now, it is C, so just defer that update and set a reminder to check again when you have better internet access. Again, the key thing here is you said that the actual desire of the person in the question, you do not want to update now. So you do not want to update now. It's clearly stated. So the best option is C. Do it later. Set that reminder at your earliest convenience. Let's go to here and do this one. That's an easy one. We don't need to do. We'll do it. Okay. You have decided to log into your work device at 1 a.m. because you are woken by the neighbor's party. You log in by typing your username and a string of letters, numerals, and numbers, and symbols. Which of the following login options did you utilize? A. Password, B. PIN, C. Fingerprint, D. Facial recognition, or E. SSO. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Pause the video a few more time. Now, it's A. It's a password. So, right, it's just describing username and a string of numbers and symbols and letters. That's a password, right? Now, it could technically be single sign-on, but it would have to specify that you're signing on once to gain access to multiple different applications, right? So if it doesn't specify that, don't think it's single sign-on. It would have to specifically state that in the question. All right, here we go. This is a good little bit more in-depth question for you that'll test your knowledge. Graham, your father, has recently changed the permissions of the default Windows file system on the home computer so that you can no longer have permission to read the file. He has ensured to utilize the granular level of control that these permissions offer. Which permissions did your father edit? A. Share permissions. B. Chmod permissions. C. NTFS permissions. Or D. Cat permissions. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Now, pause the video a few more time now. It is C, NTFS permissions. So remember, NTFS is that Windows file system that offers more granular level of control when you're choosing what people can and cannot do with it. Whereas share permissions do give you control over what people can do, but it's not as specific, not as granular. And then the next question reads, which of the following is not a valid type of permission within the NTFS file system? A, modify, B, read, C, full control, D, copy, or E, write? Your answer coming in 3, 2, pause the video if you need more time. 1, the answer is copy, D. That is not a type of permission on the NTFS file system that you can give. The next question reads, which of the following account types grants full power over the system? A, standard user, B, power user, C, administrator, or D, security user? Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Now, it is administrator. The answer is C. Of course, the admin account does give you full access over the system and is the most powerful one that you can use. Next one reads, Geraldine is currently in the process of activating a feature titled UAC on her Windows device. What is the most likely reason for her wanting to enable this feature? A, avoid unwanted security incidents from open ports. B, avoid unintentional changes due to accidental button presses. C, reduce system notifications. Or D, increase all system notifications. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Now, it is avoid unintentional changes due to accidental button presses. B, remember, user access control gives you that notification and asks for confirmation before making any changes. So have a look at these options. It has nothing to do with open ports. You're not configuring ports. You are going to increase your system notification, so it's not going to be C, but that's not the reason you would want to do it. You would want to do it to avoid unintentional changes, although you would have an increased level of system notifications. That's not the reason. You're not going to sit there thinking, I want more notifications. You're going to do that because you don't want to mess up your system through unintentional changes, right? So that's why B was the answer. Next question reads, you are a data analyst working from home on a Windows 10 Pro laptop. You need to transport a confidential client report on a USB flash drive to a colleague's office. Security is paramount, so you decide to leverage BitLocker to go to encrypt the data. Based on the information provided about BitLocker to go, which of the following options is the most secure configuration for your situation? Here we go. It's going to take some critical thinking, this one. A, encrypt used disk space only and save the recovery key to your Microsoft account. B, encrypt the entire drive and print a physical copy of the recovery key. C, encrypt used disk space only and save the recovery key on the same USB flash drive. Or D, encrypt the entire drive and require a PIN alongside the recovery key for access. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Now, it is D, encrypt the entire drive and use a PIN alongside the recovery key. So if you encrypt the entire drive, it ensures all data, including any remnants of deleted files, are secured. Requiring a PIN adds an additional layer of security because anyone attempting to access the drive would need the physical drive and the PIN. You need both of those things. The recovery key is a backup in case you forget the PIN, and it should be stored securely, far away from the USB drive. So why do we not want to encrypt used disk space only? Because it doesn't protect the entire drive. We want to protect everything on that drive. We don't want potentially deleted files to be recoverable, which might have data on there that we want to protect. Why don't we want to print a physical copy of the recovery key? Because yes, the entire drive would be secure if we encrypt the drive, but storing the recovery key physically with the drive defeats the purpose because anyone who gets access to that will be able to access the key, and if they're together, that defeats the point of doing any encryption, right? And then encrypt the used disk space only and save the recovery key on the same USB flash drive. The same thing, they're going to have the encrypted USB and have the key on the USB. There's no point in encrypting it at that point. So that is why D was the most correct option. Let's do another one. Yeah, why not? You are currently using a built-in Windows feature to encrypt individual files on your NTFS file system using asymmetric and symmetric key encryption. What is the name of this feature? A, EPS, B, EFS, C, ECC, or D, NTFS? Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Now, your answer is B, EFS. Remember, that was describing encrypting file system. We went over that towards the end of the content section of this video. Look, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you head over to journeytocyber.com where you can grab my learning guide for the A+ 1102 examination. It has comprehensive notes, active recall questions, and practice examination questions, just like you've seen in this video, broken down not only by exam objective, but broken down even further for every dot point within every exam objective. So for every single dot point, for every single exam objective, you get everything I just described. Here's what people said about my last learning guide for the 1101. Your learning guide is goated. It definitely helps with organized information and helps me piece things together more easily. Update, your notes definitely helped me pass my test today. I downloaded your learning guide and I can see it will help me immensely with studying. I tried other popular resources but struggled absorbing the material. So if you want to grab that, head over to journeytocyber.com and you'll be as happy as this guy. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video, guys. Thanks for choosing me to walk you through your A+ 1102 journey. Bye.